This video will be taking you through a formative assessment that I created for a 5th grade class in library. We've been talking about plagiarism and copyright. So I made a formative assessment, which is a quiz over those topics, and then the students used the clickers in order to put their answers in for the quiz. We went over the quiz together as a class instead of having students go at their own pace. So that meant that I had projected the questions up on my board as we went through. So here I am in my CPS database, and these are my 10 questions that I used for this assessment. We'll look at it right now as a preview because I do not have the clickers actually set up to run with it right now since I don't have a class going right now. So we'll look at this as a preview. So the questions are projected up on a screen for students. And first question, plagiarism is taking credit for someone else's work. The students just choose A or B. And then when I end the question, then the correct answer appears with a check mark next to it. And over on the right-hand side, it would tell me how many students had answered A and how many students had answered B. And it doesn't tell me which students, so the kids cannot see what their classmates answered. They can only see numbers, just like me. How many got it right, how many did not. And I just do the same thing for the rest of my questions. When you are paraphrasing someone else's work, you should. And we go through these as well. Now, I did this as a formative assessment after a lesson. If I had done this as the lesson itself, maybe the next time around we could have taken more time, and then we could have taken the time to go through each of the possible answers and talk about why they were or were not correct. I didn't have time to do that on this particular day because we just did this at the end of the lesson. There are 10 questions. It does take more time than you might think, waiting for students to all get their answers in, and then end the question and show the results. Which of the following is an example of plagiarism? We did then talk just a little bit about the correct answer on that one. Definition of plagiarism. And then we moved into copyright. When I was done with the lesson and went back later on to look at the report, I found that more students missed information about copyright. It is definitely a more complicated topic, and it looks like one that I need to spend a little more time explaining to my students. This particular question, I tried to make it easy and a little bit funny. I was just being humorous. The purpose of copyright laws is to make your life difficult, to protect the rights of those who create songs, movies, books, etc., or to make rich people richer. And that's one that pretty much everyone got correct. Gave examples of copyright infringement by asking the question, which of the following is not a copyright infringement? This one we had to spend some time on because they did not, for the most part, did not get this one correct and did not realize that recording a concert on your phone and posting it to the internet is not okay to do. So we had a little bit of discussion on that one. Talked about fair use. We talked about why it's not okay to copy a friend's homework even though you have their permission. And a little bit about public domain. And then our last question was a definition of copyright. This was a great way to assess the students. It was something that I could make it short, or I could have made it probably into an entire day's class just by going through all the answers. It really gave me a great picture of how the students were doing. I did not give the clickers out based on, the clickers all have a number, and this time around I just had a student pass them out, and so I did not know which student had which number. So if I were going to do this again, and I would probably make sure that I assigned each student a particular clicker. That way I could go through and see which student is missing which questions. This just gave me an overall feeling for how much as a whole the class is understanding. And I found out that a little over half of them did not really seem to have the best grasp of the concepts. I did run a report. Here we go. Of the students' results. Evidently no one had clicker number 1, so that one we can kind of ignore. But as I look at the results, I had quite a range of grades. I had students receiving a 100%. I had students receiving 10%. And so as I went through and looked at it, I found that over half the class, or about half the class, got an 80 or above, and I had quite a few students who got a 50 or below. And so that tells me that this is probably something that needs to be looked at again, that I need to go back, and as I said before, it seemed they missed mostly the copyright questions, so I need to go back and spend a little bit more time teaching copyright to the students. So using the clickers, it's a great tool for a formative assessment. Definitely something that I would like to do again, and that I would like to use more often because it was engaging for the students. They were excited as soon as they saw the bag of clickers, and so it's definitely something that I would like to incorporate more. The other assessment that I used was not technology enhanced, but it was technology inspired, and I had found on Pinterest an exit ticket that is like the students are tweeting. So this is an example of what it looked like. I bought this on Teachers Pay Teachers. So what the students can do is each one of them would get one of these little pieces of paper, and they did. They write their name on it, and their name goes here. And they just wrote something that they had learned that day in class. And if the students are feeling lost and like they need more help, they can circle the help up here. Or if they feel like they've got it figured out pretty well, then they circle tweet. And then I know just by glancing at it if they feel like they understand what's happening or if they need a little bit more help. There's also an option for them to draw a picture on the back to help illustrate if that's needed. In this case with 5th grade, talking about plagiarism and copyright, most of my students did not feel the need to illustrate anything on the back. But this was another great way to get some feedback from students about what stood out to them, what stuck with them. They liked the novelty of the Twitter aspect to the exit ticket. This is probably not something I would do every day because I feel like the more I use it, or if I overuse it, I might start getting responses back that are not as thoughtful. Today I felt like they really were thinking about what they wanted to tweet or what they wanted to tell me, and so I got back some thoughtful responses about things that they had learned. So this is something I will definitely do again. However, as I said, I won't do it every single time. I think if I overuse it, it will lose its effectiveness. But for today, it worked very well. So those were my 2 formative assessments that I used for this lesson with 5th grade on plagiarism and copyright. I feel I learned a lot myself about the power of formative assessments, and I will most definitely be using them a lot more with my classes. Thank you.